Hello, sunshine. Welcome to Be Visible with Veronica, the podcast where bold conversations and soul-aligned strategy help you awaken your most powerful self. I'm your host, Veronica Bond. Get ready to stop dimming your light, own your magic, and finally be so visible you can't be ignored. Let's get visible. Welcome back to the Be Visible with Veronica show. I'm Veronica Bond, your host, and today we are talking about visibility in entrepreneurship with an incredible guest who had to be a little more visible to grow her business, and that huge success set her up to be able to also take care of her parents. So we're going to talk about what that looks like as your business is growing, and then life's, and you have to shift. And that conversation is one you're going to want to stay till the end. Last week's episode with Julie Krasinski actually talked about being in that joyful space and what a 30-year entrepreneurial journey looked like. So go back and take a listen if you haven't already. But today I want to welcome Cynthia Beving. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I am loving the conversation we had recently that talked about this life shift in your business and how your setting yourself up for success actually allowed you to make a transition you had to make. But you are in the bookkeeping industry. You were my first hire. So after I had a coaching conversation and I hired my first business coach, we were actually in a mastermind together. And she said, our coach said, who do you have on your team working for you? Like Veronica, what is taking the most amount of time for you in your business? And it was all the numbers in the 3 companies I was managing that I had been doing for years. So my normal was in the weeds of doing, but also I want you guys to hear me. Having somebody else's eyes on your finances, for me, and I have this conversation with so many women in business, is an uncomfortable space because somebody's going to really know what you're doing, because you're turning over the reins of all your background and your finances in your business. There's honesty there. You can't hide that truth. And that first time I brought you in, and you have this incredible background, and there was a reason why I chose you to work with me, I cried. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And you said, you're not the first person
to
cry. And it wasn't because you gave me anything. There wasn't anything in the numbers that made me upset. It was just for me, it was the relief of feeling like somebody else's eyes are going to get me in check, but also take so much off my plate. I mean, I think you gave me a month back in a year of my life, Cindy.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful. And I remember when I shared the QuickBooks links and I'd given you access to the bank accounts and all the things, it was an emotional day for me. I'm still remembering what that felt like. Almost 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost 4 years ago. So what made you, what's your background that took you into becoming an entrepreneur? You own this sweet success in Tucson. You've lived in Tucson. You're a bookkeeper, but your background didn't start that way.
No. So I'm almost 40 years now in the accounting industry, 38 and a half, I believe. So I've been doing it for quite a while, and I was working for a large law firm, and the partners had been together since, I don't know, the 50s or something. And one partner had a stroke and decided that's not what he wanted to do anymore. And they didn't separate amicably. And it was pretty clear that, the business wasn't going to survive. And so I decided I need to go out on my own. Well, my mother kind of pushed me into deciding that I needed to go out on my own. She's like, you can do it. It won't be any big deal. And I was like, oh, well, okay. So I did. I just started. I had, I knew a lot of people around where I was. So I just started contacting everybody and said, hey, I'm doing this now. Come see me if you have any questions.
So you had to put yourself out there.
Had to put myself out there, which is very uncomfortable for me, I will say, because when I was in the corporate world, I sat back in my little office and, they'd come in and ask me a question if they had, can we buy this? And I'd be yes or no. And that was it, I didn't do any networking. I never did anything like that. So it's most uncomfortable for me still to this day. I have to really push myself.
So if you're listening, introverts can be entrepreneurs
Yeah.
and have tons of success. So if you're thinking, I don't know that I could go out and network, or I don't know that I could put myself out there, don't make it about you, because Cynthia has changed lives. You've changed my life.
Well, I will say that I'm a really good listener, and that was from my corporate days because I didn't have to go out and do a lot of talking. So I think people feel really comfortable coming to me because I will listen to everything you tell me. I'm not a huge talker unless it's something that needs to be said, because I don't have a problem doing that either, but I will listen to everything that you have to tell me. And I think that kind of sets me apart too as far as when I'm doing my packages for clients, because I don't do this is what you get in the package.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I do. I listen to what you say you need, and then we go back and we build your package based on that.
So you create a unique selling proposition for each of your clients. So they really know that you're hearing them and what their needs are instead of a cookie cutter approach.
Yeah.
I do that in my business. I find that in marketing and sales, and what I've been able to create with the Veronica Bond Consultancy is a space where somebody will say, well, can you send me a price list for working with you? And there is no price list.
No, there is no price
And it's not like I'm making up numbers in my head, but I'm really saying, who are you? What do you need? What is the next best step for you? And you do that, and you're so good at it.
Thank you.
So you're journeying along. You've got Beving Books.
Yes.
And you're growing a client base, a book of business.
Mm-hmm.
Things are going well, and sweet success comes along. But before we do that, I want to make sure everybody can hear you. So we're going to pull the mic a little closer to you.
Thank you.
There we go. Because you're very soft-spoken, and I want to make sure that this impacts. So thank you for letting me make that adjustment.
Sure.
Sweet success.
Okay, so I had a really good friend, and we thought, oh, we can do this, And when I had gone, I was looking for an office space, and he actually had an office, and he said, oh, yeah, come by. And, my brother's been in there for years, but he's kind of retiring, and it's mostly empty. So I went in there, and I was like, oh, man, we are missing an opportunity here. We got to fill this thing up. I said, we could lease out these offices, because I've been looking everywhere. And I knew there wasn't really anything like that then. I said, let's do it. Let's fill it out. He said, if you can do it, fine, go ahead. So I did. I filled them all up. And then we started talking about maybe we should expand and we should, go and look and see. And we started looking at properties and stuff. And one of my clients actually was selling his business, and he owned 3 buildings. And so he's like, hey, if you guys are interested, come take a look. And we did. And we ended up buying the building from my client. And then he officed there. So that was great. We had our first built-in tenant right away. And then down the road, as things went on, we didn't have the same work ethic style. I wouldn't say ethic. Ethic's a strong word. We didn't have the same work style. And it became apparent that it probably wasn't going to be for the best if we continued to work together. And I think that's what I was going through at the mastermind when we were together. I ended up buying him out, and it went well. I did actually sell it last year in March.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it actually worked out very well.
Good for you. But you had to have enough confidence to be able to say, the number of women I've had that I've been had the opportunity to interview on Be Visible with Veronica is extraordinary on the buyout piece. Like they were in a business with a partner and it wasn't going well.
Yeah.
And they had to have the courage and the guts and the confidence.
It is. It's hard. It's hard. And I actually went to the same client that we bought the building from because we're pretty good friends, and he's done a lot of things. He's owned many businesses. And I went to him and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. I said, I don't think I can continue. And he said, I support you 100%. He said, just ask yourself one question. And I said, what is that? And he said, could you have done it without him? And I said, no. And he said, there you go. He said, split.
Find the good.
Split, and, maintain that part of it. Keep that always in your mind. He said, if you couldn't have done it without him, then.
And I'm guessing you didn't burn a bridge.
We did for a little while, but we are friends again now. I will say that. And I reached out to him after I sold it, and I said, "Would you have ever contacted me again?" He said no, and I said, "Well, here I am. So I want to be friends again," and we are. So
I love that. So your journey's going along. You've got a book of business that's growing. You've hired coaches. You're in masterminds, because I think that's also the through line for all these successful entrepreneurs and even starting entrepreneurs, that bold startup woman who's ready to go at no matter what age she's at. There's a through line here, and it's hiring a coach, bringing in somebody who can look at you from a top level perspective, giving you the eagle's eye view of maybe where your path is going, because they're really good listeners. And you have to be so good at being able to discern a coach. I mean, I've hired a few that I wasn't super happy about, but that's my own lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And there was, but I love what your maybe friend/mentor who you had that first business with said to you. Would you have been able to get here without that, without him?
That's right.
And you found that positivity that then you are just this ray of sunshine, Cynthia. You're fun to be around. You always have that great smile. And you're so smart, and you see things in a way that maybe I didn't see them, but you listen intently, not just to answer, but truly listen. And then here's somebody who said, find the positive aspect.
Yep.
And that seems to me what you're really good at. You find the positive in a difficult situation.
I try always, yeah. Sometimes it takes me a little longer than other times to figure out what the positive is
That's
in
an
the
honest
situation.
answer.
But,
That's an honest answer.
but there's always something that in the whole, situation, whatever transpires, there's always something that was positive. So,
yeah, just even when things are hard, learning how to embrace the suck,
yeah,
super powerful.
yes,
It helps you really appreciate the wins and the good stuff and the
Yes.
happy moments.
that is true.
So life is lifing for you. You're going along, and now you have a decision to make that sets you up over in Texas.
Yeah.
Do you want to share about that?
So my mom has microvascular dementia. She was diagnosed during COVID, and she had a stroke. And I went out there, and my stepdad's 82, my mom's 79, and went out there and, was talking to my stepdad, and he said, I don't know what I'm going to do for sure. It's going to be really hard. And she got into the study at UT, which was great. They were studying music therapy and all that kind of stuff, and it really seemed she was doing quite well in there. And then she had a stroke, and they decided she didn't have dementia, that she had what they call vasculitis. And that's an autoimmune thing, and it's where the blood vessels in the brain, basically the same thing, but they just shrink, they go away. And there's nothing they can do about it, no cure or anything like that.
So it's degenerative.
So, it's not actually what she ended up having. She does actually have dementia, and because of that, then she ended up getting kicked out of the program at UT because the doctors were all like, oh, no, that's not what she has. She has this. And then she got out and was doing more tests, and they were like, no, it is this. And
oh, no. So how did you make that trek from Tucson to Texas so often? Like what?
I was going about once a quarter, and I was staying for a couple weeks, and I was like, okay, this is hard because, they needed help getting, services set up. And, my grandma's 100. She's 100 and 139 days, as she likes to say.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Mom was kind of, I shouldn't say forgetful about her mom, but she was forgetful about her mom, and Grandma needed some support, my stepdad needed support, and Mom needed the support. So I was like, okay, I got to make a change here. So I'm just going to switch. I'm going to come back to Tucson every quarter and spend a majority of my time in Texas.
Okay.
And so that's what I ended up doing. It's been 3 years. Doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
3 years. So one of the things I'm the most proud of with my business that's non-negotiable is I see my grandbaby every month.
Yeah.
She'll be 2 in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it's non-negotiable for me. From the time she was born, but even before that, I would go visit my daughter who lives in Los Angeles. So, with my lovely son-in-law, just adore him. And so Chuck and I, if he can't go every month, I'm going every month, or they're coming here. So every month for 24 months, non-negotiable. I've set my business up in a way that allows me to take that time, but also my clients understand how important that is, because when your personal life feels very on track, and I hate the word balance, but in balance, to the point where you feel fulfilled and joy in it, your business soars.
Yeah.
If your business is struggling and your personal life is struggling and you're struggling, there's struggle. Like, it's just embracing that suck is hard, because you're trying to figure out, how do I make a shift or change or walk away or close something, or something's got to give. But when you make a priority and it's part of your value system and how you operate as a human being, and your family was the priority, you then found a way to set your business up so that you could be out of Tucson, where you started your company, and obviously you just sold part of your sweet success. So what do you think, if you're looking in the mirror and you're telling Cynthia Beving, I'm so proud of you and this is why, what do you think allowed you to make that decision to, and I don't want to call it a sacrifice, but you left something that you knew to go into something you weren't really sure what you were getting into?
Yeah, I would say sacrifice is a fair word, because you did it, or you do it, but you do it for family, or you do it for something that's more important to you than, I want to say your own success, but more important to you than maybe achieving your goals at that time. Maybe you can set that aside for just a little bit and concentrate on your family, who is, not always going to be there. So,
not very many people do that, Cynthia. They don't.
And I don't think I handled it the best probably in the beginning, but how do you know? There's no roadmap for that. It's just, you just got to do what kind of flows in and out. Like, I was supposed to be here a week before I came, but Grandma was in the hospital, and since Mom can't drive anymore and she's forgetful anyway, I would go to the hospital every day, and then I had to make sure she went to rehab after, and I wanted to stay for follow-up appointments before I came back. So there's things, I make adjustments now, but that's just part of.
And how do you make adjustments in your work calendar for family time? Like, do you block time out where every day you have to have a gap, or do you have client calls only on certain days? Like, how are you running your business while you're also taking care of your family?
So yes, I do block it out. We have calendars everywhere, whose appointment is next, kind of thing. And if, Grandma now has moved into assisted living, so if she has an appointment, they take her sometimes. If it's an important one, I'm going to go, like her cardiologist or whatever. Same with Mom. If it's something that Bob can do on his own, my stepdad, then that's great. He can take her. But if it's something, like with her neuro doctor, I'll go to that one, kind of thing, because I want to hear what's going on. I want to know what's going on, kind of a deal. So
if you had advice, if there was 3 things you could share to a listener right now who finds themselves seemingly on the edge of this struggle, maybe they're getting ready to walk into it with their family, what are some successful things you did for your business success that allowed you to do both and pick up and move? Like, would you offer, like, I was so glad I did this, and this, or?
Yeah, I got my own office space right away. That was one thing, because I didn't want to leave it. And it wasn't that I was hugely focused on growing the business down there then. It was just that I didn't want to let it go. If you don't go into the office every day, if you don't, kind of keep the same routine going, I think it would have been real easy for me to kind of just let it go and say, okay, family, that's it. When, that's important, and that's the reason I went there, but it's not the only thing. So, I had to keep my side of things going too.
Okay. So you got an office space.
And, I joined, again, I had never been there, so I didn't know really anybody except for, people who are in their 80s and probably don't have businesses anymore.
Probably don't.
So I, started joining everything just like I did when I moved to Tucson, Joined Chambers, joined, NABO. I always belonged to E-Women. There wasn't a chapter there, but, just make yourself, kind of put yourself out there, which again was a struggle. Be visible,
get
yes.
Visibility.
That's right. That's right. Put yourself out there, be visible. So, and it was like I was starting all over almost. I mean, I had years and years, but
wow,
it was
a whole new area.
Yeah, it was
So
a whole
how
new
many,
area.
at that point when you moved 3 years ago, how many years in business had you been an entrepreneur?
I started in 2016, September of 2016. So
Okay.
I'm going on almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
You busted out on your own.
Busted out on my own.
You've created success. So what is the third thing you would offer as advice to maybe, because that transition is going to happen again for you at some point. Will that bring you back to Tucson? Or as you're looking at the 3 to 5 year plan for your business, you're 3 years older, your family's 3 years older, things change and shift. Do you have, what do you suggest an entrepreneur, what's that third thing they should do?
Yeah, I always kind of look ahead. And I always tell Mom that we probably, if something happens to Bob and Grandma and it's just her and I said, we'll probably make a change of some kind. And that will involve probably coming back to Arizona. But who knows?
But
it might
you're
change
having
by
a
then.
dialogue. Though.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that step. So
Oh, yeah.
communication is key.
Yeah. And she's like, what if I don't want to go? And I said, well, I came here for you. You're probably going to go for me.
That is such a, I think, a blessing in learning how to have that communication with family, to let them know what your plan is in your business, and then also team. So I don't know if you have a lot of team members or other accountants working or bookkeepers working for you. Are you solo at the moment?
No, I have contract workers, but they're all over the United States.
Okay.
So I've never met any of them actually in person, except for one that I am just now working out contract deal with. She actually is almost related to me. She was my stepmom's brother's stepdaughter.
Okay, so you live to family. So you don't have a team that you're as W-2 employees.
No.
They're contract workers.
I did have an admin person when I was here in Tucson, but then she went off and worked full time after I left. So, but she was not a full time person for me. She was a part time, but she did like social media and those kind of things for me. So.
And do you have your own bookkeeper, or do you do your own?
I do my own, but I do not do my own taxes.
Okay.
I will say that. And I think that's kind of important. And I work with a lot of nonprofits too, and I think it's important for like nonprofits to have separate.
It's people outside their nonprofit.
So they should have their accounting person, they should have their CPA does their taxes, and then they should have their auditing firm. And they should be different.
Oh, wow. Because you really help nonprofits, too.
I do help a lot of
Okay, so
nonprofits,
let's talk about that for a minute, because we've had, every fourth episode, we highlight a nonprofit that focuses on women, children, or animals.
Yep.
And I've never heard anybody say this before. So why 3 separate outside?
And this is my belief. Not everybody agrees
Sure,
with me.
okay.
But I just think if, nonprofits can be, they're getting a lot of money through grants, and they don't always run themselves as a business. They're not concentrating on that, so they sometimes lose sight of what's going on
In the
inside.
business.
Yep. And so if they have their person inside who is also losing track of what's going on, and then they have their person that does their taxes who may not look too deep until they have to sign off on the audits and say, yep, I reviewed them all and I did it. And then you have your person that does the audit who is going to, dive deep.
So
there.
does a nonprofit always have to have an auditor? No.
No, and you shouldn't do it until it makes sense, because an audit is like $15,000 plus, depending on who does it and when. So if
when
you're
would
not
a
bringing in enough,
what's the bottom line?
so it's usually when you're applying for grants, federal funds or grants or something, they're going to say, hey, you have to get an auditor. We're not even going to consider your application.
So at what number that the nonprofit reaches should they find an auditor, find an audit, like this third person besides a bookkeeper and an accountant? Is there an gross annual number that they've hit?
Not really. It's more what kind of funds they're going after.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think, when you get to a certain point with, like I just picked up one, they're all over the United States, and you have to register with every state if you're trying to if you're trying to recover money or raise money, you have to register with each state.
Oh.
And they all require something different as far as, what do they have. In this one state they're trying to register with requires audited financials.
Wow.
And they hadn't had that before, but it doesn't really make sense for them to do that now. Even though in this state they won't be able to raise funds, they can work around that, get somebody, they work with hospitals and stuff, so the hospital can raise it and then give it to them kind of thing, or
Okay.
whatever. But you have to kind of outweigh the cost of the audit with what you're going to bring in that state. So,
I love this expertise you have. Is this a new niche for you?
I've been doing the nonprofits for quite a while. A lot of people don't do, I do from the filing with the IRS all the way up. So the recognition filing, the forms 1023 or 1024, depending on what kind of nonprofit you are. They vary. But I'll do those all the way up and get you started and, go. And I've been doing nonprofits probably a good 6 years.
Okay.
So, and I think now my business actually is shifting a little bit more towards, I do more nonprofit than I do for-profit.
Okay.
And
So how could people get a hold of you, Cynthia, if they want to learn or hire you? Because I'm guessing you have a business without borders.
Mm-hmm.
You can work with anybody throughout all the United States.
yeah. Yep, definitely can. So they can go to my website, which is bevingbooks.com.
BEV like Victor.
Be like Victor.
Visible.
That's right.
Like visible. ING.com.
Yep.
Bevingbooks.com. And we'll put that in the show notes so people can reach out to you. Because as I'm starting the journey of creating a 501c3, 3C?
C3.
See, I always get it backwards. As I'm in the process of that, there's all these things that keep showing up that I didn't know about, just like starting a business. And back to the reason why I didn't have an accountant is I ran all the finances for our family, and I had been doing that for 25 years.
Yep.
And I was okay with doing it, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was taking so much time, and I didn't know that there was things I was missing on the numbers. And the is this right? Is this a write-off or is this not a write-off?
Yeah.
And like collecting all the data and the information, and then hooking up the QuickBooks. And we do have 4 people on payroll. So which payroll service do I use? And I was just writing them checks and taking out the money and calling the accountant. You saved me so much time and brain power, and those brain cells that were probably going to shrink and go away plumped right back up and got excited again to help me focus on the things that I love in the visibility space with women entrepreneurs and coaching them through what they need. It gave me more hours in my life. I mean, I swear it was a month.
Yeah. Well, no, I tell people that all the time. I free up so that they can get back to why they even started their business. Because I've never had anybody come up to me and say, when I dreamed about starting my business, I dreamed about staying up till midnight figuring if this person had paid me. Or I dreamed about working for a month before filing taxes because I hadn't entered anything all year long. Nobody has ever said that to me.
And they've all been worshiping at your feet. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story today and how you've been able to set up this family plan that you didn't plan for. I mean, we don't plan for that. Life just happens. But you set your company up. You trusted some resources. You found coaches to help you see bigger pictures, and you found this beautiful niche in this nonprofit space, and then you allowed, I love what you shared about having a place to go work. That would be my car. We call her Sunshine. She's my Jeep. But every time I get in that car and I drive, I have the most clarity. I leave my house, and I take time for me too. Do you take time for you? Where you can clear your head and of all the things that keep it really full?
I've discovered Pilates, and that's like my thing. I love Pilates. So when I'm having something go on, if it's outside my regular day, if I can get in somewhere, when I come to Tucson, that's the first thing I do. I schedule with a studio there, so I get my days in and stuff. And I of course do massages and all that, but that's just normal.
It lets your brain escape.
Yeah.
I found that when I go on trips, even when I go to see my granddaughter, and I'm not in my home where I feel like there's lots of things going on, it actually opens up a space for more creativity, for thinking, for discerning what the next best step in my business is. And I know that you've been able to do that, and you're a really good model from where we were in that mastermind coaching all those years ago to where we are now. That's success to celebrate. We are truly soaring.
We are really soaring. That's right. It was a wonderful experience, and I met some great people, including yourself. So I'm glad I did it, and I hope you are too.
Oh, absolutely. It's just so important to be able to find those communities that you can see your business in a way, or have somebody see your business in a way that we're so in it, we're not seeing it.
Yeah, and that's like, a lot of people tell me that too. They say, I had no idea. I didn't know that, and how could you know? If you were waiting until the end of the year to do your books for the entire year, how could you possibly know? There's no way.
And then you can't plan.
No, you can't
on
plan.
Oh my gosh, I have to actually file, but if I would have donated to a charity, or if I would have invested in office equipment, or if I would have gotten a new car, I would not be writing a check to the IRS. I would actually be writing a check to me.
Yeah. I had a client tell me the other day that I saved her from hypothetical hell. She said, I was constantly, I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't afford to hire anybody. I can't afford to expand. I can't, I'm probably going to have to shut my doors. And nothing could have been further from the truth. She actually was doing quite well. She just didn't know it because she had never seen her financials.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. What a story that is. So if you've learned anything today, it's hire that bookkeeper and accountant in your business. When do you think, one piece of advice as we go here, when do you know it's time? Day 1, 4 months in, 2 years in? Like, when do you know that a bookkeeper should be a dollar amount you're earning? Like, when does somebody make that decision?
I think it's more time. Like, if you're spending all your weekends doing work stuff, and it's admin, like bookkeeping stuff, not stuff you want to do to grow the business. Not that bookkeeping to help you grow your business, but you know what I mean. You're what you started it for. If you're not working specifically on that, and you're spending your weekends, or every night you're get home and you're sitting at the table invoicing and reconciling and doing all that, it's time to at least consider. A lot of times, I don't always do. I like to do just a flat rate every month after we get to know each other and I know what you got going on, but I don't always do that. And I can reconcile your accounts, I can tell you that, a lot quicker than you can, because I've been doing it for years. So it might take you like 4 or 5 hours, but
might
take
only
me
take
like
you
an hour or something. So,
Right.
Is that worth $100? I don't know. Might be.
Might be. I think I would spend 100 to make 600.
Mm-hmm.
Or X amount, whatever that looked like.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your story of inspiration, of fortitude, of focus, family. I love that, and how you've been able to intertwine everything that you're doing and set yourself up for sweet success.
That's right. And you can do both.
You can do both.
Yeah.
Cynthia, I appreciate you being on Be Visible with Veronica. And if you loved this episode and you want to understand about your own personal visibility, take the visibility quiz. Go to visibilityquiz.com, and in 3 minutes, you will get a percentage score of what your visibility looks like as you're growing your business, just like Cindy did with hers. And we will see you next week on Be Visible with Veronica. Thanks for tuning in to Be Visible with Veronica. If today's episode sparked something in you, share it, tag me, and pass it on. Your presence has power, and the world is better when you let it be seen. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and keep showing up as the unstoppable force you were born to be. I'll see you next time.